Okay, building on in terms of gains at this point in time, 263 points is what we have on the Nifty. Let's talk about a specific company. Mahindra Lifespaces is the company we're talking about. They are buying up some land in Mumbai, in Kalyan, and they're going to launch a residential real estate project. This is about 10.3 acres of land that they are buying for that project. Arvind Subramanian is Managing Director and CEO of Mahindra Lifespaces. He's joining us right now to take some questions. Thank you very much for joining us, sir. Good morning, Prashant here. Can you tell us a little bit about this in terms of what you intend to do, what kind of project, in what segment? What's the projection in terms of saleable value from this project that you have?
Sure. Good morning, Prashant, and wonderful to be on your show. So this recent land acquisition that we've done last week is in Kalyan and happens to be in very close proximity to an extremely successful project that we launched in November of 19. That project, which has about 1,200 apartments, we managed to sell 1,000 of those apartments in just 9 months' time. So it speaks to both the depth of demand in that market, the attractiveness of the location, but also the fact that we seem to have struck a chord with buyers in that target segment. So, acquiring this land parcel gives us the opportunity to build on that success and continue to serve that target audience. This project will have about 7 lakh square feet of carpet area. It's a residential project with some convenience retail in it. And we expect to be able to launch this project within the next financial year.
In terms of saleable value, sir, could you put some numbers there?
So it would translate to about 600 crores of potential sales value.
And as opposed to that, what is the cost incurred to develop this project?
Overall, we'll be spending close to 400 crores between land and construction cost for the project.
So you basically aim to make a profit of 200 crores.
Yes.
Okay.
What is the timeline of realizing this, this amount?
So look, given the size of the
crores?
project and the fact that, as I said, we already have experience in that market, we've sold well in our first project. We expect this project to be about a 4 to 4.5 year duration between launching the project and delivering it to customers. So if we are able to launch it within this calendar year, I would suspect that we should be able to complete the project and deliver it to customers about 4 years after that.
Okay, so 4 years hence. And the realizations for this project, how would it compare with the past? Have prices fallen?
In fact, quite the contrary. I often get asked the question of, in the pandemic, have prices softened? We've been in a fortunate position where actually we've had a strengthening of prices across our portfolio, and particularly in our Kalyan project, as I mentioned, it did very well at launch, and prices have strengthened since then. They've gone up by between 8 to 12%.
Do you expect this trend this strong demand to continue? Because this is coming off a very, very unusual year, right? So it's kind of tough to say, tough to make any long-term projections based off on what we are seeing now, given the year we've had. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, you said it absolutely right. It's come on the back of a very strange year. And if I were to think back in June, July of last year, when I was asked the question, how do you think the year will pan out from a sales perspective? I was very hesitant, and I didn't have the courage to put a number to it. But sitting today and looking back at the year, I think we must count our blessings. There's been a very strong resurgence in demand, particularly in the residential real estate sector. I think it comes on the back of 2 or 3 trends. One, there was clearly pent-up demand for about 4 months of the financial year. There was no sales and no construction happening. So some of that pent-up demand has got released into the second half of the year. But more importantly, we are seeing very clear signs that customers who were contemplating buying a house but had not yet reached that decision point have now committed to buying their house. And this has come out of their experience through the lockdown, where they feel that they're living with compromises currently. Either the space is not adequate, or the facilities, the amenities in the housing complex that they live in is not up to the mark. And that decision that they had been postponing hitherto, they're now taking definitive steps towards closing that transaction. And of course, the third factor, particularly in Mumbai and Maharashtra, has been favorable government policy. The stamp duty cuts, the steeper cut till December and the slightly shallower cut till March, have certainly helped accelerate that decision process. Have created an urgency for customers to close their transaction and register their purchase. So going forward, I actually...
just one final question then.
Sorry, go ahead.
I just actually... No, since we're running out of time, I wanted to understand what is the current debt on your books and how will you be financing? You spoke about the investment of 400 crores, which will be required for this particular, for this development. Can you share the outlook on your balance sheet?
Yeah, so our balance sheet is actually extremely strong. We have a net debt, close to zero net debt position on our consolidated balance sheet. This particular project will be funded through a combination of internal accruals and debt. And we expect to be quite comfortable from a financing perspective.
Okay, good luck to you and great speaking with you. Appreciate your time here on CNBC TV18 and look forward to getting an update maybe later in a couple of months from now in terms of the project and other things that you are doing. We'll take a very quick, before we take a very quick break, let's quickly run you through some trading ideas as well. Aditya Agarwal of Yes Securities is joining in. I mean, it's a strong market. The question is, I mean, are you confident enough for you to chase this higher, or do you wait a little bit? Aditya, thanks for joining in. What do you think?
Good morning, Prashant. Thanks for having the show. So I would wait a little bit because we are not still out of the wood. In fact, after this 250-point rally that we are witnessing in the markets, we are approaching this resistance zone of 14,800, about 14,850 on the upside. And this week is also a truncated week. So we just have 3 trading sessions. Again, Friday is a trading holiday. So I would not bet too much after this 250-point up move, especially on the index. I would rather play stock specific wherever there still is momentum on the upside. I would like to play stocks rather than going in for the index at the moment. Would wait for index to actually settle down closer to about 14,700 is where I would look to build fresh long positions in the markets. I believe there is more room on the upside, but from current levels, the risk to reward is not in favor of going long, clearly because I just have a 150 point upside from current levels. Closer to about 14,700 or slightly below 14,700 is where I would look to build a long positions for targets of 14,850, 14,900, keeping a stop loss closer to about 14,550 on the downside.
Aditya, morning. What about individual stocks?
Morning, Vima. So I've got a couple of buy recommendations. One is from the auto space, the two-wheeler Bajaj Auto. Stock, after a long consolidation and a correction, has finally broken out from a downward sloping channel, and it's due for a good up move on the upside. So at current levels, one can look to buy Bajaj Auto for targets of 3750, keeping a stop loss at 3600 on the downside. The second stock recommendation is from the FMCG space. It's been clearly buzzing, and from the time markets have actually been underperforming, FMCG is one space which has been outperforming. Barring that one day on expiry, FMCG stocks have done pretty well. So Britannia is one stock which I've picked up. It's on the verge of a breakout from a falling wedge pattern. And at current levels, one can actually go ahead and buy the stock. Volumes are pretty decent for targets of 3,800, keeping a stop loss at 3,500 on the downside.
Aditya, thank you very much for joining in. On that note, we need to slip into a very short break, but it's been a strong debut for India's first gaming company, Nazara Technology. It listed with a premium of 81%, though as we speak, some of the gains have been skimmed off. We'll get chatting with the management on the other side of this break about their outlook.